On a foggy morning in 1974, a school bus carrying 9 children and one driver entered a valley on a road with only one way in and one way out. The bus was seen entering by a farmer at the near end. It was expected at the school on the far end 11 minutes later. It never arrived. And when police drove the road from both ends, closing on the middle, they found no bus, no children, no wreck, and no way for any of it to be true. Stay with me, because a road with 2 ends and no exits should not be able to swallow a bus. The valley road was 5 miles long. It ran between 2 small towns through a shallow green valley, walled on both sides by steep wooded ridges too sheer to drive. There were no side roads. There were no turnoffs. There was one bridge over a creek in the middle and nothing else, just 5 miles of 2-lane asphalt with a town at each end. Every child in the valley knew that road. The bus took it twice a day, every school day, for years. On the morning it happened, the fog was heavy, the kind that pools in a valley at dawn and burns off by 9. The bus left the near town on schedule with its regular driver, a steady man named Earl Voss, and 9 children, the morning's pickup from the scattered farms along the first mile. A farmer named Doyle saw the bus pass his gate at 7:52, its headlights soft in the fog, the children's shapes in the windows. He waved. He always waved. That was the last confirmed sighting of the bus, the driver, or any of the 9 children, and it has stayed the last sighting for 50 years. The bus was due at the school in the far town at 8:03. At 8:15 the school called the near town to ask where it was. By 8:40, 2 patrol cars were driving the valley road toward each other, one from each end, headlights on in the fog, watching for a stopped bus, a breakdown, an accident. They met in the middle, at the creek bridge. They had passed nothing. The road between them was empty. No bus. No skid marks. No debris. No children walking. Nothing at all. They searched the creek first, because it was the only feature on the road, and a bus that left the road might have gone into the water. The creek was 2 feet deep. There was no bus in it. They searched the wooded ridges, though no vehicle could have climbed them, and found no track, no broken brush, no sign that anything larger than a deer had left the road. They brought more men. They walked the entire 5 miles shoulder to shoulder. They found the ordinary litter of a country road and not one thing that belonged to a bus or the 9 children inside it. Here is the detail that the investigators could never place. The farmer, Doyle, had seen the bus enter at 7:52. And at the far end, a crossing guard named Mabry had been standing at the school's edge, watching the road, because the bus was late and she was waiting for it. She swore, and never stopped swearing, that no bus ever came out of the valley. She had a clear view of the last half-mile of road. She watched it the entire time. The bus went in. It did not come out. And in between, on a straight road with no exits, 2 patrol cars had driven the whole length and found empty asphalt. The search widened into one of the largest the county had ever run. They dredged the creek along its whole course. They searched every farm, every barn, every well. They looked for Earl Voss in the places a man goes when he wants to vanish, and found nothing to suggest he had planned anything. He had a wife he loved and a shift he had driven without complaint for 11 years. They investigated every family of every missing child, and found 9 grieving households and not a single lead. There was no ransom. There was no note. There were no bodies, then or ever. Every theory the investigators built needed the bus to leave the road somewhere, and every foot of the road had been walked, and there was nowhere for it to go. A bus is not a small thing. It cannot be hidden in a creek 2 feet deep. It cannot climb a sheer ridge without leaving a scar a mile wide. It cannot pass 2 patrol cars on a 2-lane road and not be seen. And it cannot simply not come out of a valley it was seen entering, watched by a crossing guard who never looked away. But that is what the record says happened, and 50 years of people trying to make it say something else have failed. The families waited for decades. Some of them died still waiting. The road is still there, still 5 miles, still walled by ridges, still crossing one creek in the middle. The towns at each end have shrunk, the way small towns do. And the case remains exactly what it was on the first foggy morning, a thing that is documented and impossible in equal measure. Mabry, the crossing guard, lived a long life, and near the end of it she gave one interview, an old woman remembering a morning that had never let her go. The reporter asked her what she thought had happened. She said she had stopped trying to think what happened a long time ago. She said the only thing she was sure of was the thing she had seen, or rather the thing she had not seen. She stood at the edge of that valley on a foggy morning and watched a road that a bus went into and never came out of, and she waited for children who were already, somehow, on their way to nowhere at all.